Hey, welcome to this episode of WOCA Style. Today we're continuing the conversation about daughters of WOCA and giving them advice on, the things that they're having to deal with. And in particular, these two ladies, we'll talk to them about motherhood, marriage and relationships, finance, and any other thing that just happens to pop up. But we're so excited to share our knowledge and what we've gone through just so that, we can prepare our daughters, prepare the younger generation to watch out for those things that may trip you up. So without further ado, I just want to introduce myself. My name is Kaz, and I started this podcast for women of a certain age. And this is very exciting for me because I felt like this was something that, we don't have an outlet to discuss and share. So I thought this would be a great thing to do. My co-host Sonia and Sharita are also here with me. And today we are welcoming our very special guest. Dr. Lauren is a doctor of nursing, and she recently had a baby girl. She'll probably ask us a ton of questions about motherhood. And then we have Stephanie, who is a professional in corporate America, and she has two teenagers. So that carries its own set of issues that we're going to tackle today. So with that being said, ladies, do you are running the show today. You tell us, what information is important to you and what information you'd like for us to share.
Well, if it's okay with you, Lauren, I'd like to go ahead and start off. Is that all right?
That's
All
fine
right.
with
Well,
me.
awesome. Thank you. First, I want to congratulate you ladies for a wonderful podcast. We've watched your shows or watched your YouTube podcast. The guests, the talk, it's amazing. It's very inspirational. So I do want to thank you and congratulate you guys on that. If they have give y'all a Grammy in the future, just keep me, I was on the show, so I was just keep that in mind. So I have a couple questions. The subject of my first question is regarding motherhood, more specifically in regards to having the talk. Birds and the bees is what I mean. The talk with your kids. I have teenage kids, and I'm wondering if there is anything that you would do differently based on where the world is now compared to where it was when your now older kids were of that age. So what are y'all's thoughts?
That's a good question.
That's a great question because I don't know. I don't even think that it's something that you could actually compare. Our experience. Well, I want to say that because I had my son later, I could probably relate a little bit more with social media and just kids getting their information from and misinformation from
Yes.
social media.
Right.
That is just it's such it's so prevalent, and to combat that, I think that it's all you have to start talking to your kids as soon as they display any interest, or if you just happen to be perusing their phone or looking at their content, and if there is something on there that lets you know that they are interested in something that you didn't even think that they were ready for,
Right.
you need to go ahead and have that conversation. And sometimes I think that you think well, like 7 is too, and I'm just pulling that number out, but 7 is too young. Whenever it presents itself is when you should be having the conversation. It's something that can't be delayed because misinformation is running rampant.
Right.
Mhm.
And also it's this fear of getting this wrong information that can be so detrimental. So you want to arm kids as much as possible with the truth.
Right.
I think that I'll tell you how that topic was introduced to me when I was a teenager. I remember my mom bought about 52 books on sex, and she didn't really talk to me about it. She just said, "Here, go read. Here, go read these." And I was like, okay. And so I kind of like just thumbed through it. I was like, ew, that's nasty. That's nasty. But that was the talk. That was the talk that I had growing up.
Wow.
And so when I had kids, and I mean, if you don't know me, I'm pretty blunt. When I had kids, I was like, listen, don't be a hoe. Okay.
Guys are just after one thing.
That's all they want to do. And if you decide to do it, you need to protect yourself. You know, of course, I was like, don't have sex until you're married. Like that was that was like the Christian side of me. But realistically, I knew it was going to happen, whether, I beat them into submission or not. I knew it was going to happen. So realistically, I had to prepare them for the inevitable. But I didn't have social media, influencing them. They did have a lot of pressure, with peer pressure and stuff. But the social media, I feel like, is 1,000 times more pressure.
Yeah.
That I didn't have to contend with. Now, one thing that I tried to do when social media was like coming along, my kids were still teenagers. Social media was first coming. I tried to limit the amount of social media that they were exposed to.
Yeah.
There were no filters or whatever you call those apps that block like certain, R-rated or X-rated stuff. There weren't any of that, but I was just like, okay, at 10 o'clock, you got to turn it off, and I don't know if that was effective, but, you try to take steps to ensure that even if they are exposed to this kind of stuff that you, like Sonia said, you talk to them about it. Like, this is fake. This is incorrect. You should not be looking at this. But obviously you already have. And let me just tell you the truth about this.
Right.
Because
can I just add, kids are, okay, forget, me as a parent, me as a child. And with my peers, I feel like kids today are much more influenced by what is going on social media. Now, I just want to tell you, I live in, suburbia. And when I tell you what these kids are doing, I don't know. I think every town has a mom group. And you better join it. If you don't, they will tell you everything about everything. So I know what middle school girls are giving BJs in by the swings in the park. And let me tell you, they are handing out BJs out in public, and think that they are preserving their virginity, but they are doing something that, I can still be liked by the boys because I can still give it up, but I'm still preserved. I'm doing what mom did and keeping my legs closed and my skirt down, but I'm keeping my mouth wide open. And I'm just telling you, these kids are vaping. These kids, I'm gonna tell you that very, very disturbing. Because we grew up saying watch your girls, but you better watch your boys too. Yeah. Because a good neighbor friend of mine had an incident in school with boys going at it in a very sexual way in front of an audience, where they were filming it for the world to see. Jeez. And it was a big thing. So we get all kinds of alerts that tells us, that if your kid is caught with this on their phones and whatever, that they could be prosecuted, that they could be charged criminally. There are all kinds of implications. Sharing this kind of content has criminal implications to your minor child who gets something on, they didn't ask for it, but somebody filmed a sex act and somebody sends it to your kid, and then your kid sends it even to you. It's considered sharing pornography.
Yeah.
So what I want to stress to parents today is that you listen. I know everybody has a smartphone. You have to monitor those devices. And I'm going to tell you, kids think that they are really smart. You think you know what is going on your kid's phone, but you do not know. You know why you don't know? Because those kids are 10 steps ahead of you. They already have what they want you to see exposed. And everything else is behind the screen in a locked little compartment. They got their little photos in a locked vault. They've got hidden, they've got the Instagram that they friend you on. And please don't think that they're friends with you on Instagram. They got the Instagram that they friend you on, and they got the Instagram,
the real one,
that they talk, the real one. So I'm just telling you, listen, I hope there's no kids on here. If you better have a whole spyware on your kid's phone, for real, because and I'm not, and again, I'm all about privacy. I'm like very, very proud of the fact that I have like a mom and a grandma that never opened anybody's mail. They left it for you. They're not looking into anybody's private whatever. So it's not about being some voyeur and just, you have to do it because there are implications that can impact your child for the rest of their life. You have to spy on your kids with real spyware. Now, that is my advice to you.
Great advice. Thank you, Sonia.
Dr. Sonia has spoken. Well, mine was very easy and quick. I took the easy road out, and it was years ago. My oldest daughter's in her 30s, but my daughter at the time was an only child. And so I would always send her home to my sisters in the summertime. And every summer I had a list of things that was going on during the fall and winter that I needed them to adjust.
So they did the hard work.
Yep. So
you cheated.
Because all of my nephews, my sisters only had boys. And so I was the only one with a daughter. So I would send her home for the summer with the boys. So they were ready for her when she got home. And it just took care of itself. By the time she came back, she was good.
That's the village at work.
Exactly. Now, the only other thing that I'll drop, and this is just one of the things we had to do, as she came back home, and like you guys say, being on the internet, being on social media, wasn't much social media that much back then, but there still was the internet. And so we would say, same thing, 10 o'clock, when you go to bed, put your phone up, don't get on the internet, go to bed. You got to go to school in the morning. Well, yeah, you tell a teenager that, they really not listening. So Ben and I would go up and we would look. She'd be under the covers with the cover over her head, going it down. So my husband's like, we're about to fix this. He would go downstairs to his office, because guess what? She's on our Wi-Fi. And she couldn't say anything at that time, but she was smart enough to wait till the weekend. And she was like, yo, is the internet broke? And we're like, no, what you talking about? I can't get on the internet. And we just playing stupid. Oh, it'll
really?
Probably we got away with that for years. So if you're in charge of the Wi-Fi, just cut it off.
So,
I also have if I had children right now, one of my bigger fears would be this whole trafficking thing. Yeah. It just feels like it is moving closer and closer and closer and closer into regular people's circles. Because at first, I mean, I don't know about y'all, but I used to think that trafficking was something that like, like people who were living on the streets and then they would just snatch them up from the streets or, I never really, I always figured it was outside of my view. But more and more, as I look at the news, there are just, I don't know if you guys heard about the lady from, or the young girl from Dallas. She was at a Dallas Mavericks game with her parents. She was 15. She went to the bathroom and some guy just walked up to her. And anyway, he ended up taking her out of the state and began trafficking her. And they were just a regular family, just going to a regular basketball game.
Wow.
And that's when I was like, oh, so they're that bold. So you have to so that sex talk is so big. It covers a wide range of things. It's no longer just, okay, well, what happens when you have sex? A boy will do this and then you will be impregnated and then you will have, it's so much more than that. Like that's the very least of the conversation.
Right.
So I think that that's a very important topic, that it has to be a continual conversation so that they feel comfortable coming to you and talking to you about their experiences, even if it's like not something that, like maybe one of them was involved in something. You should set it up to where they're comfortable coming to you.
Yeah.
That way you don't have to read about it on a mom group. Like this child was over here doing, and you look closer and you go, oh, that's my kid.
I know that. I know that shirt. So to what Sonia was saying, it's crazy because, there's other moms that I talk to at the gym that their kids go to the same schools that my kids go to. And their kids, the things that these moms are saying, like specifically talking about the phone, checking the phone, because when I grew up, we didn't have, my parents didn't check my phone because we really didn't have phones. Like we barely had cell phones. So it was like, the most they did was like pick up the other phone as, you're talking on it to like, hey, Stephen, get off the phone. It's too late here. Like I remember that part of it. So, it's so crazy because for me, it's like, I don't know how I feel about you. I know, Sonia, you about to say I'm crazy about like going and grabbing their phone. Give me your phone and I'm going to go through every aspect of your phone. I'm going to check your messages. I'm going to check your photos. I'm going to check all this stuff because to me, it's like, that's a personal, not saying that they don't deserve to have their own personal stuff. But for me, it's just like, at what point does your kid know that you trust them? But as I'm hearing the parents that are at the gym and they're saying they do, like they see stuff is up or their kids are going to these parties and stuff and there's something happened. And so they grab their phone and go through it and they see the stuff. And it's like, oh my God, exactly what you said is what they see. So for me, it's like, I kind of have to figure out in between, because I don't want to be that you give me your phone, I will look through everything. And because sometimes you're talking to your friends and it's a cute boy. And so, and I just I don't know that I would like the way that would make them feel.
I don't think they have to know about it. Okay. No. Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry. I know they don't have to know about it.
That's fine. True.
Because go ahead.
No, you're right. I was going to say, but first and foremost, I appreciate the privacy part. You don't want your kids to feel like you're spying on them. But at the same time, that's really not your kid's phone. That's really your phone because you paid for it and they're borrowing. So when you think about it like that, that's your phone that they are borrowing. And so the conversation should be, you're on my phone.
Yeah.
I'm letting you use it. Don't put anything on my phone.
Use it responsibly.
That you don't want me to see. Because, and then when you make it that blatant and so it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Even they don't see it like that. It's like, oh, this is mom's phone. Mom's letting me use it. And she's already told me not to put anything on here. So if you're sitting somewhere and you're like, hey, what's been going on? So let's go through our phones and let's talk about the new apps. And you make it so that it's not a big deal. So even if you go on it and they find out that you did it when they weren't there, it's like mom does that all the time. It's not a big deal.
Yeah. Okay.
But Stephanie, I'm going to get to you the spyware that my colleague uses
Okay.
For her, and she has a son in high school, and she has one who's a freshman in college.
Okay.
And so I just want to say that to this day, they don't know that she monitors their phone.
Yeah.
You have and you don't need to take the phone to monitor it.
Yeah.
If you have the correct things in place, you can see their text and whatever. She found out and to her credit, God bless her, because she had a lot of restraint. She found out that her son was doing a lot of things that were dangerous that he should not have been doing. And to this day now, and she's intervened.
Yeah.
And was really she didn't expose the fact that she how she found this information out.
Yeah.
But she let him know, and she gave him alternatives, even in college, saying, this is not what I pay thousands of dollars for you to do in college.
Right.
And if you do not stop, you will be withdrawing from college, and you will not be welcome in our home. But he agreed to do drug testing because there was drugs involved. And this kid is an honor. He's an honor student.
Wow.
His grades are not impacted by what he is doing, but she's a kind of person. She has rules and whatever, and this is not what's going to go down in her house.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, I think that you cannot not do this.
Yeah. That's what I've heard.
They don't have to know, because I understand you. That's very uncomfortable. That trust, you have to, you're teaching your kids, you're modeling this behavior. You're teaching your kids that they should respect privacy. Meanwhile, you're like, all up in there. So what did so-and-so say about
right? Why are you texting him? Yeah. Who is it? Yeah. All of that.
Yeah.
You have to add to that.
You have to teach them by experience. Go ahead, Lauren.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, to add to that, I work with a lot of adolescents with drug rehab. And not only the phone, but they will get on gaming systems and websites, and then they have communications with that as well. And so it's deeper than just the phone.
Right.
It's not just the phone, or even to the point where they have this game. I know one of our psychiatrist, she had to go deploy for a minute. And what the kids were doing on the reservation was they had a game, and they were playing this game. And at the end of the game, can you hear me?
It's kind of muffled.
Okay, good. Okay. But anyway, at the end of the game,
she dropped her earplugs.
Oh, there.
I am so sorry. I'm so sorry.
No, you're
I'm so
fine.
sorry. But yeah, but at the end of the game, they encourage the player to commit suicide.
Oh,
I've heard about that.
And these kids were doing that. So now you have this rapid number of suicidal adolescents because so I know we're getting off topic because we're just talking about the talk, but I think it's important to have those conversations and kind of see where they are, because we're talking about one area which is limited to a phone. When you have computers, they have gaming systems that they can talk on each other and communicate to other people. So it's bigger than that. And then they're not trialing these kids, even with like drug situations or sex trafficking, because we have to, drugs it makes things messy anyway. But even when you go there, then you have these legal implications. That's important. So you have to do what's best to protect your child. And I remember from my experience talking to my parents about the bed and bird and the bees, and it got uncomfortable because they was like, well, what do you want to know? And I was like,
oh, God.
So
right, what do you say to that?
What do you mean? What do you want to know?
I was playing. I was playing with them. So they started, I said, well, foreplay is this. And I was like, don't worry about it.
Yeah, no thank you.
Right. But the reality is that your kids already know.
They do. They know. And they probably know the wrong way. And peer pressure right now, I would hate to even think about the peer pressure that even a really good kid, like Sonia said, the kid was in college. College is like the next step. I mean, come on now. I'm pretty much, you go to high school, college. If it's, because college used to be a big deal. Oh, they're in college. They're doing straight and narrow. They're, no, it's just next. And now they have very limited parental guidance, because now they're supposedly on their own. They've learned, and some of that just is just free reign.
For real. Yeah.
Yeah.
With my kids, so far, I feel like the type of parent that I want to be, or I want to be the parent that's completely transparent. And to what Lauren says, I want to have those uncomfortable talks. I want to divulge. I want to tell y'all the good, the bad, the ugly, because I feel like the more that I share with them, I guess the more open, I'm hoping, the more open they feel that they can be with me. More specifically, just in regards to like my past relationships and things, and what to and what not to do, and honestly kind of being real with them, like, Jaden, you're a dude, so if you date other girls, that's fine. Like but you can't, commit to one and be cheating. But if you let them know straight up, hey, I'm dating and you're dating, stuff like that. Like, and girls, like Simon was saying, you got to watch out, because it's not, but at first it was, oh, watch your little girl. These boys are after them. Right now. It's the girls. The girls are hot.
They are hot in the, are they hot?
They coming in hot, and you got to kind of let your son know, your athletic son know, like, these girls, Jaden, they could be some 304s, and you can't trust everybody. You can't trust what they're saying, so I just really honestly try to be as real as I can with them and transparent, so that that I want to give them the feel that when you are in a relationship, or when you are dating, or when you're talking to somebody and something's happening, you don't feel like you need to hide it from me. I want you to tell me. I'm not gonna get mad at you. I'm here for you. Like, if anything, I'm the one person that won't judge you. Like, let me help you is what I'm hoping to get out of that. They're still kind of, for Justin, for Jaden, he's almost 16, but thank God he's like a gamer. He's almost like a nerdy athlete. So he doesn't feel the need to be seen, to be out and around people. He's almost like like he likes to be inside. Like, too many people around him kind of makes him want to go in. So I'm thankful for that. But still, to what y'all are saying, I don't know what's really down, and I know they know way more than I think they know. I already know, because I hear what these other people's kids are doing in the same, schools and middle schools. They getting caught in the bathroom and having sex and stuff. So I know what's going on. It's just, I want to be transparent with them, have a conversation, so that I hope that they'll come back with, here, Mom, this is what's going on with me. I need your help, or what are your thoughts? So we'll see.
I like what you're doing.
Yeah, I keep it up. That's absolutely, that's all you can do.
That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And always stay available. Like, don't just brush it off, and say, just don't have sex. Because
and don't act surprised.
Yeah.
Okay. Or disappointed.
Do not clutch your pearls. Do not clutch your pearls.
But I think that you need to, also just make sure that they know that they're not horrible people.
Yeah.
If something like that were to happen to them, or with them, or with whatever they're doing, but there's a way to be smart and safe.
Yeah.
And that's the most important thing, because these days you're not only worried about getting pregnant or getting somebody pregnant.
Right.
There's so many more things that you have to consider.
Right.
So I feel like that conversation needs to be ongoing, and find opportunity in everything to open the door to the conversation. Like, if you're watching a movie, or if you're at a restaurant, or if you're driving down the street listening to an inappropriate song, that would be a good time to have, continued conversations.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree too, because STIs are common amongst teenagers and college students, and it's because it's a small community. Yeah. So everybody, you got a boyfriend one week, and then next week you're not dating him no more, you're dating somebody else.
Right.
And then so it's the transferable rate are extremely high among those populations. So
yeah,
I can definitely see that.
Wow. Yeah. So you got to be smart. I remember when Zach was going off to college, And one of the things that I gave him in his little care package was this giant box of condoms.
It was giant.
It was giant. And my mom was like,
It
oh,
was giant.
why would
What are
you do
you
that?
encouraging him for?
That's what she said. You encourage it. I'm like, honey, it's already too late for that. But
Right.
you know, I'm sending a message that he needs to be careful. You
Right.
know?
Yep,
So
that's
I
true.
agree.
that was a great question.
That was an awesome question.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Huh.
Well, Lauren, what about you?
Yeah, I have a question. It's probably two-sided, so just slow me down if I go on a rant. Um, the question is, you know, being a mom, being a woman, you always hear about women, you know, don't lose yourself, you know, stay true to you. And then when you get in the thick of it, I can see how easily that can happen for women, per se. And then even if you have a partner that's with you, if you're married, because this audacity that men has, I'm learning how deep it goes daily. And I'm like, oh, you got some, you know, if you don't have anything else, you can have no edges, you cannot have a job, you cannot have a car, but you got audacity, you know. So that's something that I've just learned that, you know, so how do you all balance it without losing yourself and not coming off like aggressive either? You know, because I'm kind of I'm like, look, no, I'm not gonna do that. The dish is just, it's just gonna be there until you get tired. Because, you know, so how do you balance that, you know, taking care of you and your family? And not, I don't think I feel bad about it, but just how do you balance that and not losing yourself?
Okay.
Let me get my pen and paper so I can take notes.
What I would tell you is that this is a balancing act that you will be doing for years to come. I don't think you ever become balanced. It is always teeter-tottering, and it is always one side is favoring the other. In a perfect world, and I don't know anything about perfection in my world, let me just say that.
No.
But in a perfect world, it ebbs and flows, right? Sometimes you are carrying what seems like the load, and then then your partner is carrying what seems like the load. In that way, it feels like there is some fairness to it, but I don't know nothing about that. Okay. So I always feel like I'm carrying the load. But I think that if I'm being honest, and it seems like, Lauren, this isn't your problem, but if I'm being honest, I'm like so many women. I want you to see that I am always carrying the load. I'm keeping score. I want you to see that you are doing absolutely nothing in my eyes.
Right.
Like, okay, because I'm going to tell you, my husband, we have this ongoing discussion. He comes home every day from work. I'm not a stay-at-home mom. He comes home every day from work and he goes to his cave. He puts on the sports channel. He looks at the stats. He does whatever. I don't know, whatever he does, it's what I call decompressing, which is something that I never get the opportunity to do when I come home. Because when I come home, I don't drop my bag. I still have my coat on most of the time. I'm washing my hands. I'm defrosting. I'm getting stuff out of the refrigerator. I'm doing things to prepare for dinner. I'm picking up what was left when we all ran out of the house at the spur of the. And I'm just like, why do you get to decompress?
For real.
And you know what I figured out? And I think, Lauren, you just said that because you said you don't care. I figured out I'm the fool. I don't decompress because I choose not to decompress. I want want you to see, and sometimes I make a theatrical production of it. Look at me with this winter coat on, with a scarf still around my neck, and I'm chopping onions, and my purse is on the kitchen floor. And come on. And he don't care because he don't see that. Yeah. Because he don't care about that. Because he cares about decompressing, and you care about getting dinner. Whatever. And my husband has said, you do that because you want to do it. Because and then he says, if you don't do it, if you don't cook, not that he cooked because he can't cook, he's gonna go out and get takeout. But I'm like, but I don't, because I'm cheap and I'm frugal. I don't want you to go get takeout because that impacts our bottom line. Yeah. You going to buy takeout every day is that I don't want you to get takeout. I want you to cook. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But that's unrealistic, isn't it? Because the man can't cook. And he tried it. He tried to buy a cookbook, and then it took him 3 hours. He learned how to make 2 things, and he makes them really good. He makes 3 things really good: macaroni and cheese. He does a Patti LaBelle recipe. He does spaghetti, and he does chili really well. It takes him all day to do it. I'm not even joking about it. He chops an onion. It takes 45 minutes.
Oh Lord.
But all I'm saying is, I think we as women, we put the pressure on ourselves. Yes. You have to figure out what is it that what really are your priorities. And it doesn't have to be dinner. If he's content to go out and eat at Chick-fil-A 5 nights a week, then let him go. If it means that you really get to decompress. And that's all I'm saying. You don't have to wear the cape. We choose to wear the cape. And that's all I got to say about that. Don't do it. Don't be a martyr.
Yeah, stop. Yeah, I'm not doing it.
Well, okay. I discovered that a long time ago. I think Zach was a little kid, and I was in the kitchen doing all the things that I always do, and he was in the living room sitting on, I think, my mom's lap or somebody's lap. And I was like, why don't you ever sit on my lap? He goes, because you never sit down. I was like, oh, that is true. I'm always doing something. Yeah. And like Sonia said, I think it's a choice, because in my mind and in my world, I wanted everything to be perfect. I wanted my house to be clean and perfect. I wanted the meals to be presented beautifully and lovely. I wanted everything lined up, and just, that's not sustainable. Like you really have to take time for yourself. And sometimes it is okay for your house to be messy. Yeah. It is okay for them to go and get tacos for dinner. It is okay for people to fend for themselves. Because I took my job as, I got to take care of everybody. I got to cook for everybody. I got to clean for everybody. I got to wash everybody's clothes. I got to do, and that's not sustainable. So self-care to me is priority, especially as a mother.
Too. It's the way we were brought up. We were conditioned to be this way. So we didn't just fall into this role. We were conditioned to be this way. And I'm going to just go ahead and say that it was your mother one time who said to me, I was married to somebody else then, but she said, I was like sitting there enjoying myself at a holiday. And she said, like, she looked at me like I had 2 heads and said, because I think I was sitting there eating my own plate. And she said, you're not gonna fix your elbow your husband's plate. And I was like, I was so embarrassed.
Don't start what you ain't gonna finish.
Oh my goodness. But I'm gonna tell you now, I listen, I'm not in the fixing plate business. I don't do that anymore. I don't subscribe to that anymore. And I have what is called the zone. So yeah, I don't like to live in a pigsty, but I am not killing myself trying to keep everything in place. I have a zone, and I say I want my zone cleaned and together at all time. And that zone is if somebody happens to come unannounced to my front door,
right,
and I open the door to say, what the hell do you want? Everything that they see is in place. Now, what is behind them? It could be a complete damn tornado. Everything they see when they open the door and get these, like, who the hell told you to come here? They're gonna be like, oh, that is one.
That is nice, beautiful.
The zone is the only thing I care about being clean.
Well, my only response is that one of the things that I learned, and it took a while, and Lauren, it sounds like you're a little bit ahead of the curve, but what is important to me may not be important to them.
Yes.
So until you understand that, you'll drive yourself crazy. And then once you understand that, then you learn how to pick your battles.
Yes.
Because there's going to be many. So learn how to pick.
Yeah.
Well, are y'all ready for my next question?
Go ahead, let her rip.
All right. Well, it kind of goes hand in hand with what Lauren was saying, but because I'm not married yet, I'm kind of wondering if would y'all change anything about your experience with courting and marriage and all of that based on what you've seen, like what you've seen transpire with other people. Like pretty much I'm seeing a lot of people that are my age that have gotten married and it's, to me, it's really not, they're kind of doing it to go into the motions just because I hear the other part of it, or there are people who don't have, women that don't have a job, haven't had a job for 15 years because their husband, they get together with their husband and now their husbands is cheating on them and they're, kind of divulging, oh my God, this is so bad. And me, I'm like, girl, go get a job. It's going to be hard, but you can do it. And they're like, no, like, oh my God. So, and then they end up staying together and then you see them on Facebook and stuff and everything's copacetic again, but on the outside looking in. So I'm seeing these things and I'm seeing them transpire from the time that I'm, in my early 20s to coming here now and seeing things unfold and things that maybe didn't work out so well. So I guess my question to y'all is, when y'all started the whole dating and getting married and all that stuff, because y'all all been married for a really long time, is there things that you guys like, what experience have y'all seen, or would y'all change it, or not with your current marriage, but is there any things that y'all would change, or maybe give us a heads up to look for?
Another good one.
Oh, Stephanie, you making us think today.
Hey, y'all asked me about questions about 2 weeks ago. It's been like, I got this knowledge.
Those are very good questions, especially at your age. And I guess I didn't think about the fact that all three of us are on our second marriage. And I would just say you're spot on about watching people and them making it look like it's a certain way, but you're smart enough to read between the lines. If they're acting like that and they're unhappy, and then you get on Facebook and everything looks like it's all great, you know better.
Right.
So you know that first and foremost, but also don't just do it because other people are doing it. You know what I mean? So a lot of people get married because they think that their clock is running down. You have the benefit of already having kids. And so that usually is the one thing that pushes people a little bit more into something that they normally wouldn't have done. Right. You don't have that to worry about. You have your family. You are independent. You are stable. So you should be making choices about a husband because it's for you and your family, not because you're trying to do what everybody else is doing. Right. So that is and so I always say my biggest thing is your gut feeling is always right. If you feel like in your gut something's not right, look, you trying to blow smoke up my butt, and I know better. That ain't happening. So 9 times out of 10, if you feel like that, you're probably right.
That intuition.
Absolutely.
Intuition is God talking to you every time.
Every time.
Yep. And I agree with Sharita. Stephanie, you're exceptional in that you are you're living your life. right? So you're independent in that you already have the roof. You provide the roof over your head. You provide. So anybody that comes into your life can only come if he is enhancing what you already have. And listen, I'm pro marriage. I am pro, but more than pro marriage, I'm pro partnership. I think the first time that I got married, we spoke about this before, I definitely had the family saying, at 21, are you dried up, or what are you waiting for? What are you doing? When are you going to do it? You're not going to. I felt so much immense pressure the first time, and I made all of the wrong decisions. Just about every step I made was a decision based on feeling pressure. The second time, I got to tell you, my husband, who is my life partner, I don't feel like I didn't need to marry him. At the end of the day, I didn't. And I actually said I was never going to get married again. And he, because I didn't think that I could have children, and that was, and there was something about my upbringing that told me that when you have kids, like, y'all should all have the same name. Which I think is hysterical, because I don't even use my married name. And my son keeps wanting to change his name to hyphen so that he can include my name, which I find hysterical. But I believe in partnership. I believe that you should share your life with somebody. I believe that you should find your person. But I believe that person should enhance. There is not too many, women that got it going on like you, Stephanie. So it can't be. It can't be any Joe Schmo off the street.
Okay,
coming in talking about he want to. Because some of these guys, they see what you got, they ain't got nothing. They trying to come live off of you. No.
That's a common thing. Yes.
Yes. I be up in these Instagram streets.
I be knowing.
Well, so when I was growing up, my thing was like my family would tell me, "Oh, you need to meet a man at church." At church. And so I grew up in church. I was in church all the time, but I met my first husband at the club. And it was it was very attraction was very superficial. I thought I wanted A, B, C, and D, when in reality what I needed was E, F, G, and H. But
what you want, what you need.
I feel like the best way to find somebody is to position yourself in an environment that is safe and it's positive. Because I met this guy in a club, and he was into partying, like literally into partying, like to the 10th degree. And that's not me. Like, I mean, now it's not me. But you have to position yourself in order to meet people. And I mean, I know that dating apps exist, and I feel like those are pretty traumatizing from what I'm reading. But it's all about being available, understanding what it is that you want out of somebody, and allowing them to live up to that expectation. And when I say that, like I happen to know that Stephanie is hardcore. And she has been through a lot, and giving grace to people is very difficult for her because of the things that she's been through. But just don't give up, like extend grace whenever you can. And if that trust is broken, then you do what you've always done. Be like, you're out.
Yeah.
So I mean, I have no doubt that it'll happen, but it's just a matter of weeding through all of the nonsense. And because unfortunately, men your age are really still playing a lot of games, unfortunately. But that's
I'm in a weird space for dating because I could like date a dad or I could date a son. You know, it's a weird space. And
go for the dad.
Doubles your pot.
That it does, but it's so weird because you know, just like Cassandra was saying, I don't want to go. I already found out, you know, the club is not like Cassandra said, it's not where you want to meet somebody. If they in the club when you meet them, they probably gonna stay in the club. And that's not the type of relationship you want to sit there and fight and be looking through. Oh, who you talking to? That's my man. I don't want to do all that. I don't have time for all that. But like if you're like if I'm going to the gym or organically at the store or something like that, you know, but I'm seeing these guys and they're he looks good. And the dude's like 26, 27. Like they're young, they're late 20s. I don't even know that. I mean, maybe early 30s, but I'm like coming to the conclusion that just may be just who I date or who I'm with. It might be a younger guy. And guess what? Because I'm 38, about to turn 39. I'm okay with that because now I'm seeing that maybe the 40, 50, I don't know if I can do 50. Now, I don't know about that. I just don't know. But the younger ones to me, I don't know. Like I said, it could be a dad or it could be the son. That's where in my mind, I'm processing it and I'm like, it might be a younger guy. It might be a 10-year younger guy. And that's okay with me.
I feel like you need a 40-year-old, but that's just listen. Yeah. Okay, because I mean
you're right, because somebody playing video games and stuff, that's probably gonna like Cassandra said, my tolerance is very low.
That 28-year-old gonna be playing video games with Jaden.
Come on, can you get us some hot Cheetos and Twinkies? Not your mama. Dang.
No.
You're probably right about that, Sonia. You might be right. I might have to switch it up there.
Lauren, did it take you a long time to meet your husband?
Well, yeah and no, because we only been married 2 years. But I was kind of like where Stephanie was. And I think even now the most challenging part with me and my husband and blending families is that, you know, I already had a house. I already was in my career. I already had my own thing and I had this independence.
Yeah.
So then it's hard when you're trying to merge two personalities, two families. And then my husband is a little younger than me. So I was like, no, go older. So then there's certain things too.
Gotta put up with.
Like where you have to because it's like, you know, I'm not like, well, why don't you notice? And I'm like, oh, no, you don't. Okay, let's talk about it.
Okay.
You know,
let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it. You know, so it's, you know, because you get the fun part, like, woo, but then you get the other part, like, okay.
You are so just a 20-year-old. Okay. Got it.
Right. Yeah. So he's 30, but it's just that thing, like, you know, the maturity. And then even because they can be mature and they can provide, but it's still that middle ground. So so I started having kids later and got married later for what people would say. But you know, when I got married, I was kind of at the point I came to the point I didn't need to have a husband to have children.
Yeah.
So I think it's when I finally got to that point where I was like, you know, I've already had the conversation with my pastor because I was a minister at the time. I said, listen, I'm just letting you know now. So, you know, I'm just, you know, whatever you got to do what you got to do. But I'm just going to let you know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go find me somebody that I can co-parent with. You know, they may not like women, which is fine in that way. But they will be a great father. They will be a great parent. I know they will be the best parent ever. And you know, so I had to have that conversation. They thought I was crazy. I was like, no, because I was like, I didn't feel like that we needed to use religious barriers. That should not be the standard for having children. Me being married to someone should not be the standard. And I just came to that place with that. But yeah, so I can understand where Stephanie was because it's like one of my therapists said it. A lot of people, they just get dressed and take pictures.
Yeah.
And put it on Facebook. So what y'all doing? You know,
we live in a whole
different life.
Whole different life. So that whole social media stuff, I'd be like, yeah, that's cute, child. No, because you don't want to push yourself and be married and unhappy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And when you've evolved as a woman, because Stephanie, when we change fast. So what we like 2 years ago, we don't like right now.
Right.
For sure. And unless you get you a partner, right? Unless you get somebody that's going to partner with you and going to change like you and be on the same beat and not be intimidated. Because now, like, I've started talking to these women and these married women, and they keep telling me, yeah, my husband did have a season when he was jealous of me. I'm like, what is happening? Didn't nobody tell me that part. What? You go through those with that. So that's kind of like, so Stephanie, be you. Like when I met my husband, I was content with being single. I was like, you know what? I'm about to live my best life. I'm gonna be out in these streets. And, I already had my age. I already talked to my doctor, like, hey, at 35, I'm going to get these eggs frozen. I already had my little savings account for that.
Nice.
Like, we already had a conversation about it.
We had that
So it was just, because when you have your own, especially when you have like properties and you got your own career, it gets real sticky.
Yeah.
When you start merging it, because it's like, because the standard gets higher and higher.
Yeah.
It keeps getting higher. So I would encourage you, embrace where you are, enjoy where you are, love on yourself, because ain't nobody gonna treat you like you.
Right.
And the right person, when they come, they'll meet the standard.
Yeah.
And they not. And if I were you, I would go older.
Okay.
Yes.
Ways, but go older.
Not 50, but yeah, maybe about
it doesn't have to be 50.
Maybe 40 or 40.
You gotta have
to be. Go there, because that 48, that 40 age, your tolerance for stuff is very minimum. And you got teenagers, that's not gonna work. Yeah. You got kids as teenagers. Like, I didn't have kids, so it was like, okay, it was fun. And not saying that my husband's not immature, but there's just it's an age gap, and you can tell just how we, navigate through life just naturally.
Yeah, and non-tolerance for stuff, that would probably become a huge problem. So
yes,
because you have patience for the babies, but not for the grown people.
Not for an adult that I'm together, like, and then you're my husband. Oh, that tolerance, I don't know. That'll be a whole nother talk we'll have to have, because I don't even see it. I don't see it right now, but I am right now. For my journey, it's like, once you go through some things, like Sandra was saying, you've been through some things. At this point, honestly, I just gave it to God, and I said, listen, God, I'll give it over to you, and I know that you'll deliver better than I can. So I don't need to be, I don't feel the need to go look. I don't like we talked about the dating apps and stuff. Horrible. You meet the craziest, people that are on the dating apps. Not saying that no one can find the love, but in my personal experience with dating apps was a long time ago, and it was horrible. There's just so many coming at you, and you're just like, God, so much, and they're crazy. Like, out of like the maybe 15 you meet that like you and want to talk to you, there might be 5 that you talk to, and then out of that, like maybe 1 might be not crazy, like borderline, like have like psychopathic, maybe having some type of
they need to see somebody. They need to see somebody.
They literally
they need to see somebody. A lot of people have these borderline issues, and I was like, oh, you don't need love. You need some medicine.
You need medicine. You need to be medicated
and get stabilized, especially these hoteps. Like,
I'm not doing this.
It's crazy.
So now, like, the standard for dating and like marriage, because I've been where you were when I met my husband, is when I was like, babe, forget this. I'm about to, okay, cool.
Yeah.
As long as we got to understand that this baby gonna happen around 35 to 37, y'all should be okay with it. But with that, you have to incorporate that counseling piece too, because especially in our community, if you want to get a man of color, I feel like every brown person should see somebody. Just because of the trauma that we have. I don't care what your socioeconomic status is. I don't care how great your childhood was. There are some pressures that's socialized that you have to work through. So now you incorporate in your dating life, like, oh, I know we're not talking about marriage, but we need to go see somebody.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
No, that's true.
Because it's going to come up. It's going to come up. And then what you don't want to do is be in a long-term relationship and you're battling somebody else's traumatic experiences. So you're the secondary. So now you got secondary trauma because we up here trying to work.
Come on, Dr. Lauren.
Dr. Lauren is coming through, honey.
You dealing with something you have no clue about, but you know it ain't right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, no, they don't know. There's a reason why you keep dating folk and it ain't working out after the last 5, 10, 6, 7, 8. But it doesn't click. So until they find somebody to be like, hey, well, let's go talk to somebody. Just see where we are.
Right.
So they can be able to do their own work, because it doesn't work out. Like, you have your individual work that you've probably already done, and then they got their work. And then what I realize is the work don't ever stop.
Right.
Very true.
Because then you get together and you be like, dang, we got over that. But then what is this right here?
Yes.
So just even
welcome to marriage.
Yes.
Welcome to marriage.
And that's when I was like, this is the work they was talking about.
Yeah.
This is what, because you always wonder what Medea and them was talking about. Like, oh, it's work, child. That's all they say.
Yeah.
They leave it there.
Stop.
It doesn't stop. I've been married 30 years, and we have therapy sessions on the regular. People say, well, what? We don't have any issues. Well, that's why we don't have any issues.
Exactly.
Right? Because, and it's unfortunately, it's a taboo in our community for us to seek help.
Yeah.
But I highly recommend it because there are lots of hidden traumas that cause our behaviors that we can't explain.
Wow.
And therapy kind of talks you through that in a way that you've never really thought about.
It's so true. We could do a whole show on that alone, because
I think we will.
Yeah, I don't even think that sometimes people haven't even identified their trauma.
Yeah.
They don't.
You know, I was never, I was not molested. I was not physically abused. I was not whatever. And then, listen, it is very insulting when I have told my parents, I'm traumatized from my childhood, or I have whatever. They're like, what are you talking about?
Right. We ain't done nothing to you. You good.
Right.
Yes, I was. Yes, So,
and you know what? It's because I know that I've caused probably trauma with my children.
Oh, none of us escaped childhood unscathed. So yes, you are causing trauma, and every day.
But you don't even recognize what it is that you've done to cause trauma. And so I feel like that's a cyclical thing that we probably, as a community or as a culture, should really start to explore, so that we can stop pushing down those traumas to our children and then their children. And then it's just like, it just keeps getting, because there's so much anger in our community, like, and so much rage and jealousy. And you saw about those girls who, beat up this one girl when they went on vacation. Like, all those things are, I feel like, based on lots of childhood trauma or unresolved trauma that we don't explore. So I don't want to say too much, because I think that's a whole other show. Yeah. But I think this show was excellent. You guys brought up some really good questions, made us think. I love the conversation around, your questions. I love your insight on, how you're dealing with it, because I can tell you, when I was your age, I didn't have this much insight. I was just kind of like winging it. I had no clue what I was doing. I did the best that I could, but I feel like you guys are really equipped to really, really make a big difference in your own lives and in the lives of your children. So all I can say to you is keep it up. We're very, very proud of you. The things that you've accomplished and the things that you continue to do make us all proud. One day you'll be a WOCA, and you will be giving your experience and your knowledge to the next generation of mothers and women. And so I think this is an awesome opportunity to get to talk to you guys, because I don't recall ever having this deep of a conversation with my daughters. But to me, this is what we need in our community, right? We need to strengthen our community. We need to equip our girls and our daughters and our children in order to kind of navigate, right? So this, to me, was perfect. And I really, really appreciate everybody's time. And I do, normally what we do at the end of every show is we would say the one thing that we would do if we knew what we knew now as a 38-year-old, or one thing that we could tell you to focus on as you continue your journey. So I'll go first. I think the one thing that I would have done differently when I was raising children, I would have prepared them for financial success. I made sure that they got good grades. I talked to them about the birds and bees, did all that, but I did not ever set them up for financial success. I didn't talk to them about balancing a checkbook, investing your money, saving your money, all the financial things that, we struggle with today. I wish I would have done a better job with that.
That's pretty good.
That is really important.
Yeah, because they don't teach it in school. And so
No.
I always have an issue with that. Yeah.
So Sharita, what is the one thing? What's your one thing?
Wow. That's a huge one, because I would just say, I feel like my mother talked to me a lot, which I was very fortunate. Back in the day, our parents were almost, at a younger age, and I would say than a lot of moms are now. And so I feel like I kind of grew up with my mom and my dad, and so we were very open. And I would just say the thing, Stephanie, that you talked about wanting to be transparent with your kids, it is real. You want to have that, because it really does continue to grow with them as they become young adults and adults. You want your kids to come back to you before they go to anybody else.
Right.
Awesome. Sonia?
Well, yeah, you hit on something that just makes me want to comment as brief as I can. My grandmother, who never ever made a lot of money, just never made a lot of money, but she always talked about money in a way to me that was meant to be instruction. It was meant to provide some instruction about how to deal with money. And she used to always say, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this, always keep your own. Always here, like she always had an account over here, and put your money over here. Like my granddad, his job was to pay them bills. Her job was to save her money. And so I learned that, but you're absolutely right. I could have gotten some more. And I could have gotten some more financial advice. I could have paid attention a little bit more, and I definitely could have given and could give a lot more financial advice. But the one thing that I want to say that really isn't even the advice that I would give to a future WOCA, which clearly these beautiful women do not need. And something that we touched on last week when I was having a lot of technical difficulties. I feel like I'm having some today too. But anyway, I would say, and this may not be a popular decision, may not be in a popular opinion, but it is mine. If you have to choose, which last week, when we this is part 2 of this conversation, if you have to choose between career and motherhood is really important to you, choose motherhood. And I just want to, unless you are somebody, and we did hit on this last time, and Lauren has hit on it again, that has prepared for the fact that you may not have a partner, and what's your plan B. If it is freezing your eggs, which freezing your eggs is lovely, but you need a partner, okay? Because you need an embryo. So that's what I want to tell people. You need to freeze an embryo, which means that you have to find somebody sperm to connect that with. And I'm saying that because from my own personal experience and delaying motherhood, it was the best decision for me, but it wasn't the best decision for my child. He did not get the best version of me. Delaying motherhood when you are a lot like your children at this point, you are hormonal, you're agitated, you are depressed, you have a short temperament, you have all of these things that WOCAs experience. That does not complement motherhood. So I'm sorry. The same way, Stephanie, you have to be careful and monitor what your kids are watching. You women, you future women of a certain age, stop believing that Janet Jackson was 50 years old and had a baby. Stop believing that the brat is 50 years old and had a baby. And I'm sorry. Kids don't deserve a menopausal mother. And I'm just saying that from my experience, menopause is hell, and your kids should be spared. So our grandparents and aunts and uncles and whatever, they were a pain in the ass, but they had it right. Listen, if you can have them early, if you can. If you know you got the brains of a billy goat, I'm not talking to you. You don't need to be having kids in your 20s. Okay? But that is all I have to say.
Okay. And with that, we will end the show on that light note. Again, thank you for your time. This was amazing. So stay tuned for our next episode. I can't remember what it's going to be about, but it's going to be a really good one. So please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Yes. Please don't forget to like and share. And if you're a WOCA, join our Facebook group called WOCA Style, where we share lots and lots of cool tips and advice and funnies. So we look forward to seeing you next time on WOCA Style.